What if events went differently? What if Andy, instead of getting Buzz Lightyear in the original Toy Story movie, he had gotten a different toy? Imagine if Andy was gifted Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles. Welcome back, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, to yet another interesting what-if scenario. And in today's episode, we're going to be diving deep into the Toy Story universe and doing a crossover like never before with The Incredibles. Now, it would be interesting if Andy had gotten a different toy and how the dynamic would shift quickly if it wasn't Buzz Lightyear. So if you guys are new to the channel and would like to see a ton of like Disney content, Pixar, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, you name it, let me know in the comments down below what you guys would like to see. But I would highly recommend, if you guys want to see like even more Miss Lepart content, consider going to the Patreon and even consider going to the Substack, because both have different perks that you can get on both different sites, and it really goes a long way. So that being said, my fellow watchers, grab some popcorn, do whatever you have to do, and we're gonna get into the brand new What If episode. It was Andy's birthday. His room is buzzing with excitement as the toys anticipate what new additions might join them. Woody, the beloved sheriff, and Andy's favorite toy, is confident that no matter what Andy receives, he'll always be the top toy. The door bursts open and Andy, with a gleam in his eye, runs in holding a large, shiny box. The toys watch in awe as Andy tears it open, revealing a brand new Mr. Incredible action figure, complete with a voice box and movable joints. Andy is immediately captivated by Mr. Incredible's rugged appearance and heroic quotes, and from that moment, the balance in the room begins to shift. As Andy rushes out to show his new toy to his mom, the room is left in stunned silence. The other toys gather around Mr. Incredible, who is still in his plastic mold. Woody, always the leader, steps forward to greet the newcomer. Mr. Incredible's eyes flicker to life as he is unboxed, and without hesitation, he addresses the toys around him, mistaking them for citizens needing protection. "Don't worry, everyone," Mr. Incredible says, his deep voice resonating throughout the room. "I'm here to keep you safe from any threats, but first, I need to find Syndrome before he causes any harm." The toys exchange confused glances. Woody, trying to maintain order, steps in to explain. Listen, Mr. Incredible. You're a toy, just like the rest of us. There's no real danger here. Syndrome isn't..." Mr. Incredible cuts him off, determined. "There's no time to waste. Where's Syndrome? He must be planning something if I'm here." Woody tries again to explain, but Mr. Incredible is already moving around the room, inspecting every corner, every toy, as if searching for clues. The other toys watch in a mix of confusion and concern as Mr. Incredible starts his patrol, convinced that he's in the middle of an important mission. Over the next few days, it becomes clear that Mr. Incredible has quickly become Andy's new favorite toy. Andy spends hours each day staging elaborate superhero battles, where Mr. Incredible always saves the day. Woody, who used to be the star of every game, now finds himself left behind more often than not. He watches from the sidelines as Andy's imagination soars with his new hero, a feeling of dread slowly creeping in. In one particular game, Andy reenacts an epic battle where Mr. Incredible defeats an imaginary Syndrome. Woody, reduced to playing a minor role, begins to feel the sting of jealousy. The other toys notice the change in Andy's behavior as well. Where Woody used to be the leader, now Mr. Incredible holds that spot, at least in Andy's eyes. Woody's initial attempts to befriend Mr. Incredible are met with polite but distant responses. Mr. Incredible is too focused on his mission to notice Woody's efforts. As Mr. Incredible continues his patrols, searching for Syndrome in every nook and cranny of Andy's room, Woody's jealousy starts to turn into something darker. He begins to see Mr. Incredible as not just a rival for Andy's affection, but as a threat to his position as the leader of the toys. One night, as the toys gather after Andy goes to sleep, Woody can't help but vent his frustrations. Can you believe this guy? He thinks he's the real Mr. Incredible. He's going to get us all in trouble if he keeps this up. Some of the other toys try to comfort Woody, but it's clear that things have changed. Woody's anger and jealousy continue to simmer beneath the surface, and he starts to formulate a plan. If Mr. Incredible thinks he's on a mission, maybe Woody can use that to his advantage. The next day, Woody casually approaches Mr. Incredible, who is standing near the window, gazing out at the world beyond. You know, Woody starts, I think I heard something strange last night. It sounded like someone or something was outside. Mr. Incredible's attention is immediately piqued. What did you hear? Was it Syndrome? Woody shrugs, feigning uncertainty. I'm not sure, but it sounded sinister. It could be him. I mean, who else would it be? Mr. Incredible narrows his eyes, scanning the horizon. You're right. Syndrome must be nearby. Thanks for the tip, Sheriff. I'll keep a closer watch. As Mr. Incredible intensifies his patrols, Woody feels a twisted sense of satisfaction. By feeding into Mr. Incredible's delusions, Woody hopes to isolate him, making him look ridiculous in front of the other toys and in Andy's eyes. Days pass, and the tension in Andy's room grows. Mr. Incredible becomes increasingly paranoid, questioning the loyalty of the other toys. He begins to see potential Syndrome spies in everyone, from the harmless Slinky Dog to the timid Rex. Woody continues to subtly fuel Mr. Incredible's fears, enjoying the chaos he's creating. The once harmonious toy room is now divided, with toys taking sides, some out of fear of Mr. Incredible's wrath, others out of loyalty to Woody. The room, once a place of fun and camaraderie, has become a battlefield of suspicion and mistrust. Despite his growing paranoia, Mr. Incredible remains determined to protect Andy. He spends more time than ever watching over the room, convinced that Syndrome's attack is imminent. But what he doesn't realize is that the real threat is much closer than he thinks. Woody, now fully consumed by his jealousy, feels powerful for the first time since Mr. Incredible's arrival. But beneath that power is a growing darkness, as Woody starts to realize that he's becoming someone he doesn't recognize, someone who is willing to do anything to regain his position, even if it means hurting the very toys he once considered friends. Mr. Incredible stands guard by the window, staring out into the night, while Woody watches from the shadows, a plan forming in his mind that will set the stage for the dangerous events to come. Woody's jealousy has morphed into something far darker than he ever imagined. The once kind sheriff is now a shadow of his former self, his mind clouded with thoughts of betrayal and power. He watches as Mr. Incredible continues his tireless patrols, growing more paranoid by the day. Woody realizes that simply isolating Mr. Incredible isn't enough. He wants to get rid of him for good. The fear of losing Andy's love has twisted Woody's sense of right and wrong. The other toys are starting to notice the change in Woody. He's become more distant, his friendly demeanor replaced with a cold, calculating attitude. The toys, unsure of what's happening, begin to avoid Woody, fearing his sudden mood swings. But Woody doesn't care. In his mind, they're just pawns in his a game where he must come out on top. Woody decides it's time to set his plan into motion. He approaches Mr. Incredible with a fabricated story designed to play on his fears. Mr. Incredible, Woody says, his voice low and serious. I overheard something last night. It was Rex. He was talking to someone about the plan. I think he might be working for Syndrome. Mr. Incredible, already on edge, immediately believes Woody. Rex, I knew there was something off about him. I'll confront him and get to the bottom of this. Woody watches with satisfaction as Mr. Incredible marches off to confront Rex. He knows that the gentle, nervous dinosaur will be no match for Mr. Incredible's accusations. The confrontation is just the beginning of Woody's plan to sow discord and ensure that Mr. Incredible loses the trust of the other toys. As expected, the confrontation is disastrous. Mr. Incredible corners Rex, demanding to know who he's working for. Rex, terrified and confused, stammers that he doesn't know what Mr. Incredible is talking about. But Mr. Incredible is too far gone. He's convinced that Rex is lying. The other toys gather, watching in horror as Mr. Incredible becomes more aggressive, shaking Rex and demanding answers. Woody stays in the background, a small smile playing on his lips. The division between the toys deepens, with some beginning to fear Mr. Incredible's unpredictable behavior. Woody's plan takes its next dark turn when he convinces Mr. Incredible that Syndrome is hiding in Sid's house across the street. Woody paints a vivid picture of Sid as a mad scientist, creating twisted toys and planning to attack Andy's room. Mr. Incredible, desperate to prove himself, takes the bait. We have to stop him before it's too late, Mr. Incredible says. Woody feigns reluctance, knowing full well that this is his opportunity to get rid of Mr. Incredible. It's dangerous over there, but you're right. We can't let Syndrome win. I'll go with you. The two toys make their way across the street to Sid's house, sneaking past Sid's dog, Scud, and slipping through a crack in the door. Inside, the house is dark and foreboding, filled with the eerie silence that only Sid's house could have. Mr. Incredible's paranoia is at its peak, and every shadow seems like a potential threat. Once inside Sid's room, the true horror of the situation becomes apparent. Sid's mutant toys, cobbled together from broken parts, emerge from the shadows. To Mr. Incredible, these creatures are proof that Syndrome is near. Twisted experiments designed to do his bidding. Woody, however, sees an opportunity. He begins to whisper doubts into Mr. Incredible's ear, convincing him that these mutant toys are too dangerous to leave unchecked. They're working for Syndrome, Mr. Incredible. You have to stop them before they report back to him. Mr. Incredible, now fully convinced, begins to fight the mutant toys, who are bewildered by the sudden attack. Woody stays back, watching the chaos unfold. The mutant toys, though frightening in appearance, are ultimately innocent and mean no harm. But Mr. Incredible doesn't see that he's too far gone. As the battle rages, Sid's footsteps are heard coming up the stairs. Woody sees this as the perfect moment to execute the final part of his plan. He subtly directs Mr. Incredible toward a trapped Sid's infamous rocket, sitting innocuously on the floor. Sid bursts into the room, thrilled to see that his rocket is now attached to a new toy. Mr. Incredible, The action figure, still dazed from the fight, doesn't fully realize what's happening until it's too late. Sid gleefully straps Mr. Incredible to the rocket, preparing to launch him into the sky. As Sid works, Woody approaches Mr. Incredible, a dark expression on his face. "I told you, Mr. Incredible, you're not a real hero. You're just a toy, and you've caused nothing but trouble since you got here." Mr. Incredible, finally seeing through his delusions, looks at Woody with a mixture of shock and betrayal. Why would you do this?" Woody's face softens for a moment, a flicker of regret passing through his eyes, but it's quickly replaced with resolve. "Because you were going to take Andy away from me. I couldn't let that happen." As Sid prepares to light the rocket, Woody has a sudden change of heart. He realizes that in his quest to protect his place in Andy's heart, he's become someone he never wanted to be. But before he can act, Sid's door opens, and Woody is forced to hide, leaving Mr. Incredible strapped to the rocket. As Sid prepares to launch Mr. Incredible, Woody struggles with his conscience. He knows that letting Sid launch Mr. Incredible would be the ultimate betrayal, not just to Mr. Incredible, but to everything Woody once stood for. In a moment of clarity, Woody decides to take action. He emerges from his hiding place and calls out to the mutant toys, pleading with them to help him stop Sid. At first, the mutants are hesitant. They remember Woody's earlier actions and distrust him, but Woody's genuine desperation convinces them, and they agree to help. In a tense, high-stakes sequence, Woody and the mutant toys work together to disable the rocket and free Mr. Incredible before Sid can launch him. The mutant toys, using their unique abilities, manage to create enough of a distraction for Woody to reach Mr. Incredible. With seconds to spare, Woody manages to unstrap Mr. Incredible from the rocket, just as Sid is distracted by his sister, Hannah, who bursts into the room demanding her toys back. The distraction allows Woody and Mr. Incredible to make a daring escape, with the mutant toys covering their retreat. Woody and Mr. Incredible flee from Sid's house, narrowly avoiding Scud and making it back across the street to Andy's house. Once safely inside, Woody expects some kind of thanks or recognition for his actions, but what he receives instead is the cold shoulder. The other toys, who have witnessed the whole ordeal through the window, are horrified by Woody's betrayal. They confront him, demanding answers. Woody tries to explain, but his words fall flat. The toys, who once looked up to Woody as a leader, now see him as a traitor. Mr. Incredible, still shaken from the experience, is especially hurt by Woody's actions. "I trusted you," he says quietly, before walking away to join the other toys. Woody is left alone, his actions finally catching up with him. He realizes that his jealousy and fear have cost him everything: his friends, his leadership, and possibly even his place in Andy's heart. The act ends with Woody sitting by himself, reflecting on the choices that led him to this point, as the toys around him start to distance themselves from the once beloved sheriff. Woody sits alone in Andy's room, shunned by the other toys. The atmosphere in the room is tense, with the toys divided between those who are too afraid to speak up and those who openly show their distrust. Woody, once the leader and hero among them, is now a pariah haunted by his own actions. He watches as Mr. Incredible, now fully aware of his identity as a toy, tries to repair the damage caused by the earlier chaos. The once confident sheriff is now filled with regret and guilt. He remembers all the times he had stood up for the other toys, and how far he had fallen from that ideal. Woody tries to reach out, but the other toys, including his closest friends like Slinky and Bo Peep, turn away from him. They no longer trust him, and he realizes that trust, once broken, is difficult to rebuild. Days pass, and Woody remains isolated, but he starts noticing something strange. The other toys, though they avoid him, still respect his leadership abilities. They still look to him when problems arise, even if they don't approach him directly. Woody begins to see a small opportunity for redemption. Woody decides to take the first step toward making amends. One evening, he approaches Mr. Incredible, who is standing by the window, lost in thought. Woody hesitates, his guilt weighing heavily on him, but he forces himself to speak. "I'm sorry, Mr. Incredible," Woody says quietly. "I was wrong. I let my jealousy and fear get the best of me, and I hurt you and everyone else because of it. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want to help fix things if you'll let me." Mr. Incredible turns to Woody, his expression unreadable. There's a long pause before he finally responds. "I won't lie, Woody. What you did was unforgivable, but I also know what it's like to feel like you're losing everything you care about. We can't change what happened, but maybe we can make things right together." This moment marks the beginning of Woody's journey toward redemption. It's not a full reconciliation, but it's a start. Woody and Mr. Incredible agree to work together to restore order and trust among the toys. Just as Woody and Mr. Incredible begin to mend fences, a new problem arises. One night, while patrolling Andy's room, Mr. Incredible notices something alarming. Sid's family is moving away, and Sid is planning to throw out his mutant toys. The toys that helped Woody and Mr. Incredible escape are in danger of being lost forever. Mr. Incredible insists that they need to help, but the other toys are hesitant, still wary of Mr. Incredible's influence and Woody's recent betrayal. Woody knows this is his chance to prove himself. He steps forward, addressing the toys. "I know I've made mistakes, big mistakes, but those toys in Sid's house don't deserve to be thrown away. They helped us when they didn't have to, and now it's our turn to help them. I'm not asking you to forgive me or trust me, but I'm asking you to do what's right." The toys exchange uncertain glances. Eventually Rex, ever the anxious but kind-hearted dinosaur, speaks up. "Woody's right. We can't just leave them to their fate. They're toys, just like us." One by one, the other toys agree, and a plan is formed. Woody, Mr. Incredible, and a small group of toys will sneak back into Sid's house to rescue the mutants before it's too late. Under the cover of night, Woody, Mr. Incredible, Slinky, Rex, and a few other toys make their way back to Sid's house. The journey is tense, as memories of their previous encounter with Sid flood back. But this time they're united by a common goal, and Woody feels a renewed sense of purpose. When they arrive, they find Sid's room in disarray, with boxes and trash scattered everywhere. The mutant toys are huddled together, waiting for the inevitable. As Woody and the others enter the room, the mutants are initially defensive, remembering Woody's previous actions. But when they see Mr. Incredible with him, they realize that this isn't an attack. "We're here to help," Woody says, his voice firm but gentle. "We're not leaving without you." The mutants, surprised by the gesture, slowly start to trust Woody and the others. With teamwork and ingenuity, the toys work together to free the mutants and escape Sid's house, avoiding both Sid and Scud in the process. The mission is a success, and for the first time in a long while, Woody feels like he's done something right. Back in Andy's room, the rescued mutant toys are welcomed by the others, who are impressed by Woody's bravery and determination. Woody's actions during the rescue have gone a long way in restoring the trust he lost. The other toys begin to approach him again, cautiously at first, but with growing warmth. Mr. Incredible, now fully accepted as part of the toy family, speaks to Woody. "You did good, Sheriff. You showed everyone that you're still the leader they believed in. I think Andy's lucky to have you." Woody smiles, a genuine smile that he hasn't felt in a long time. "Thanks, Mr. Incredible. I couldn't have done it without you." The two toys shake hands, a symbol of their new friendship and mutual respect. The other toys, seeing this, start to gather around, offering Woody words of encouragement and forgiveness. Even Bo Peep, who is deeply hurt by Woody's actions, forgives him, and the two share a heartfelt moment of reconciliation. With the tension finally eased, the toys return to their usual routines. But the dynamics in Andy's room have changed. Woody is no longer the unquestioned leader, but he's content with that. He's learned humility and the value of teamwork. Mr. Incredible, too, has found his place among the toys. No longer the delusional hero, but a true protector and friend. Andy discovers the newly added mutant toys in his collection. Instead of being frightened or confused, Andy is fascinated by the unique appearance of these toys and integrates them into his playtime, giving them roles as misunderstood heroes in his imaginative adventures. As the toys watch Andy play, Woody reflects on the journey they've all been through. He knows he'll never forget the mistakes he made, but he also knows that he's grown from them. He's a different Woody now, wiser, humbler, and more appreciative of the friends he has. Woody and Mr. Incredible stand side by side on the windowsill, looking out at the vast world beyond. "Whatever comes next," Woody says, "we'll face it together." Mr. Incredible nods, a smile on his face. Together. And that is going to be it for What If Andy Had Gotten Mr. Incredible instead of Buzz Lightyear. So what did you think of this fan fiction video? What did you think of Woody turning evil near the end of the storyline? It's a very interesting dynamic with Woody being jealous of Mr. Incredible and kind of going a step further than he did in the original film when Woody was jealous of Buzz being like the brand new toy. I think it would be really interesting to see like what would happen. But that being said, my fellow watchers, would you like me to continue this series with the part 2? Let me know by supporting this channel by giving me a subscribe. Make sure to like the video. But that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and have a wonderful day. Peace out.